Preseason week 2 is officially in the books for the Kansas City Chiefs as they demolish the Arizona Cardinals. Today, I will give you my reaction of all the action that took place on the football field last night. With that, let's cut the chit chat and let's have some fun. Now, first and foremost, before we get into my reaction, I do want to apologize that I wasn't able to go live last night. I was a little worn out from the day, and then connection, trying to search for the game, and too close up to time, kind of all got tied in together. But next week, that won't be the case, as once the Kansas City Chiefs and Cleveland Browns kick off for their final preseason action, we will be live on this channel, just going through everything and talking Kansas City Chiefs football. I will have it on the channel ready for you guys early next week. So please be sure to hit the notify me button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of that. Now, there was a lot of thrilling action from last night. And I know the first take a lot of people are going to say is, it was the Arizona Cardinals. Supposedly going to be the worst team next year and be lucky to even win one game. Yeah, and I'll give it to you. But when you have really good teams, Super Bowl caliber teams, you expect them to put on a show against very bad teams. And what if it was vice versa? A lot of people would say, well, what if it was a close game against the Arizona Cardinals? Oh, it's preseason, relax, nothing to worry about. No, you want to see your stars shine no matter what team it is against. So I think this was a very, very great output that the Kansas City Chiefs on all three phases. And let's just dive into all three phases. And the number one thing that caught my eye in this game is, and I don't think it's no surprise, the depth. And it's not just the wide receiver core, because that's what initially all the Chiefs Kingdom focuses on is, damn, they could keep 10 wide receivers if they really wanted to. And they could. But the depth all around on this football team is amazing, honestly. Every quarterback put on a show. When the worst passer rating on your team in a preseason game is Patrick Mahomes, that says a lot. Those numbers were absurd. I believe it was over 350 yards, over 3 touchdowns, and every quarterback had a passer rating over 100. That is something you love to see. And one thing, Shane Buechele and Blaine Gabbert, I don't care what anyone says, that is a legit quarterback controversy going into the final game. Honestly, when they kick off against the Cleveland Browns, I just want to see 2 quarters from Buechele and 2 quarters from Gabbert. I don't care how you mix it up or what it may be. I want to see both of them on the field because I believe they both want that QB2 spot, and you saw it last night. They both look very, very good. The only mishap from a quarterback, which I believe was Blaine Gabbert when he missed a wide open Justin Ross. But then he ended up getting a touchdown on that drive anyways. They were so efficient last night, and it was so much fun to watch. The only hiccup was really early in the game from the offense, because it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows early. Like, the offense, they struggled. Now, it wasn't the struggle like you saw against the New Orleans Saints. There was an unfortunate penalty on the first drive, which wasn't an offensive pass interference, but of course, the refs called it, which the refs actually called a lot yesterday. And it took a couple drives for the Kansas City Chiefs offense to look like the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I want to give big praise and kudos to the defense, because they came out early and often. They started with a 3-and-out, and they played really, really good football from the starters all the way up to the third string. And that's something I love to see. At the end of the day, there's going to be question marks around the starters and the defense just because everyone thinks they can be a top 10 caliber type of defense. Well, we're almost here. It's put up or shut up time. Week 1 is literally a few weeks away, and I'm glad to see that they basically improved from their performance over last week. Yes, it's preseason, but I want to see those little things hit the field, preseason or not, and I saw it. And also, going back to the offense, man, again, it was inconsistent to start off, but the fact when Patrick Mahomes was out there, he hit 9 different wide receivers is absurd. This offense is going to look way more better than last year, because what we preached last year is what it's going to be. Anyone can eat at any given time. That's going to be the understatement of the year for this season coming up, because if you thought it was a wide receiver by committee, playmaker by committee last year, whatever you want to call it, this season is going to take it to a whole new level. Literally, as I mentioned, you got 10 wide receivers that can make the team. Now, that won't be the case, but that's the talent that's there. You got legit, 5 running backs now that can actually make the active roster or make someone else's roster. Let's put it at that, because you got Pirine, who looked really, really good last night. You got Ely, who is a great elusive back who can contribute in the wide receiver game as well. And then you got Dominating Preseason, who ended up getting his first touchdown last night. And then, of course, you got guys like Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, those type of dudes. And I think the funny thing around all this, which I didn't wrap my head around till late last night, was all the weapons that are on this team that were displayed last night, and Kadarius Toney and Isaiah Pacheco still have not hit the football field. That is so crazy to think about, that we see the depth already and they're missing legit pieces. That's how crazy and explosive this offense can look going into 2023. And let's talk about some guys that I'm going to highlight from last night. And I think it goes without saying, but rookie wide receiver Rashee Rice looks like the real deal, and he might contribute earlier than later, because we all just anticipate, because you see an Andy Reid offense and we know rookies get moved in later on in the season. That might not be the case with Rashee Rice. They had him with Patrick Mahomes in the first series, and he played all the way to, I believe, the start of the fourth quarter, and man, that boy was eating. And what I love to see from Rashee Rice is he did have a couple hiccups earlier in the game. I think he had a drop, but then after that, he made sure to take it to the next level and didn't drop anything afterwards. He almost had a fumble, but he ended up recovering it as well. But man, he is the yak king, the yard after catch. He is a tough, physical receiver. He is everything that the Kansas City Chiefs wanted out of Juju. I think that he can do this year. And a lot of people also say he is what Sammy Watkins was healthy. And I can see that to an instant. The only thing is he doesn't have his speed, but man, the physical playmaker, I think, trumps what Sammy Watkins was, and I think trumps what Juju was too. And I think he can be really, really special in this offense, and I would love to see him on the field week 1, which I believe will be the case. And if we're going to highlight wide receivers, you know I have to go there. And this is why I say the Kansas City Chiefs literally have 1,000 wide receivers on this team, to where it's going to be so difficult come roster cut time. And it's Ihmir Smith-Marsette. And honestly, he put on a show, and I didn't even anticipate whatsoever. Coming from week 1 to week 2 of the preseason, I thought, man, Kiko Crawford could be that next man up to where he can have another explosive game. That was not the case. We didn't even see him on the field from what I believe. But man, Marsette, he was putting on a show from the third quarter and the rest of the game. Special teams, he even contributed a little bit, but he had a great long reception. He had an amazing touchdown where he made a play, and I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs can keep him, but he can make their life so much more difficult if he replicates what he does week 2 into week 3. I hear Dave Toub really, really loves him, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. But if he starts contributing on the offense and on special teams, Dave Toub might have to start pitching for his guys, because at the end of the day, what was another interesting take was the kick returner and punt returner, which in week 2 happened to just be Richie James. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not typically how the Kansas City Chiefs run. They usually like to run with a different kick returner and a different punt returner. And we saw it week 1 in the preseason with Dominating Preseason. Now, I don't know what happened there. A lot of people said Dominating Preseason may be in the doghouse at the moment. I can't speculate or comment on that, because I don't have any idea on why he would be moved down and why it would just be Richie James. But I wouldn't be surprised if we go into week 3's preseason game and see Marsette as the kick returner. That's going to show Chiefs Kingdom and everyone around that they may really love this guy and they want to find him a way on this team. And if he shows out on special teams, because we already saw it on the offense, he might find his way on the 53. Is it a long shot? Of course it is. But at the end of the day, I think from 6 all the way down to wide receiver number 10 or 11 is wide open. Now, yes, you got your guys like Chiefs Kingdom's fan favorite Justin Ross, who I think will make the team, and Justin Watson, who had a touchdown. And I know Chiefs Kingdom wants to say he's on the outs, but he was playing early in the first quarter. I think if they're going to run with 7 wide receivers, that's your set. But afterwards, when you got guys like Marset, Nico Ramijo, who at the end of the day has an injury they might put on IR, Kiko Crawford, and then even Cornell Powell, where you might be able to stash on the practice squad. But also, man, he had 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games. A lot of things Chiefs Kingdom has to focus on too is Andy Reid's coaching tree. You got Eric Bieniemy now and the Washington Commanders, and then you got Ryan Poles as the Chicago Bears. Very familiar with the Kansas City Chiefs roster and organization. They will poach some of those players. So a lot of those players will not make it on the practice squad. And I'm very intrigued to see how this comes and narrows down at the end of the day. And of course, I've been talking all this love for the offense. Let's switch the defense, because we did talk about it a little bit, but they put on a show. They looked really, really good. Again, I know it was against the Arizona Cardinals. What do you expect? I expect what they did. Now, the Arizona Cardinals' third-string quarterback, Tune, I will say, he is an athletic kid. He made life so difficult for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. From first, second, third string, he was making plays, and it was kind of crazy to see. But B.J. Thompson, he ended the day off with a sack. You love it. Shamari Connors, he is going to be a legit weapon next year. And I believe early in the season, he's going to be a name to remember. I don't know how often he will be involved in the defensive set, but I do believe Spags already has a play set, maybe 5 to 10 plays where he's going to be each and every week going after the quarterback and being a thumper. The only thing I want to mention for the Kansas City Chiefs defense is slow it down a little bit, because that's the way Tune, which is the backup quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, was making plays. Because the Chiefs' secondary and even pass rushers, they were flying in like heat-seeking missiles. And all Tune had to do was just step up, make a play, and get away from them, which at the end of the day, you love to see that constant pressure, but you would love to see it get home. And then while we're speaking on rookies, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, he was so close to getting home several times. But this is constant tape he's putting in the room to where he's getting really, really good pressures. And I'm going to see, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. One thing I did notice with Felix Anudike-Uzomah was he didn't get onto the field, I believe, until late second quarter, early third quarter. So he didn't really run too much with the one. So in preseason week 3, I'm ready to see him be on the field for probably all 4 quarters and see what he is all about. It's going to be so exciting to see, and I'm just very intrigued. And honestly, I've never been this dialed or zoned in when it came to preseason football. But here we are. I think with the loaded roster the Kansas City Chiefs got, the talent that's across the board, it's hard to ignore and it's hard not to watch. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to close off this video. You let me know a few things that caught your eyes in last night's game in the comments down below. Let's chat, let's talk, let's have fun. With that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please leave that big thumbs up. I'm checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.